Well, I'm over at my table saw and I plan on doing another stave turning. Here's one I did a number of years ago. It has some tapered compound angles in there, and that's something that people want to shy away from because it's somewhat complicated. Finding the angles is not too bad, but measuring it at your table saw and getting them perfect so that these staves wrap around and glue together with the first try, that's going to be a little bit tricky until you've done a lot of them. I think I have a way that's going to make it so it'll be foolproof. You should get them perfect every time. So viewer Don Lewis got a hold of me and we had a couple emails back and forth, and he has this method that he's come up with where he's 3D printed special wedges for the wedgie sled, and he actually used a special wedgie sled. So I'm going to show you that and we'll get it all set up. I haven't tried it. I'm pretty sure it will work, so we're going to just try this together for the first time. First I'm going to go in and sit down, maybe have a cup of coffee, and then I'm going to show you on my computer all these complicated angles that you deal with. But I don't want that to scare you because I think we're going to take that scare factor out of this. So I'll be right back. This is an image of an example of what we're making here. It's not exact, but I'm doing this so I can show you the two critical dimensions that need to be used and have to be carefully set up. With this wedge that I'm going to try, you shouldn't have to do that. You just have to put it in place and then adjust the blade so that it's right on the proper angle, which is on that wedge. So this is the dimensions right here. I'll try to blow those up. The miter angle and the blade angle, which is the tilt of the blade. Those two things really need to be exact in order for the joints to match. So we're going to go back to the table saw now. I'm going to use that wedge that was supplied to me and we'll see if it works. Alright, I hope that didn't scare you too much. So I'm pretty sure this is a sled that I used to make that turning I showed you. I have a number of sleds around here and that just about has to be the one. And this is just for show purposes. That's your stock. The way I did it was I came over here, I set the angle on that rail, I tilted the blade to the proper angle, I set a stop over here, run the material over there, cut it, flip it, run it over again, and cut it. So that's how I made the staves for that turning I showed you. I have another sled where I just cut them the width they needed to be and I set it up and cut them. That's a little trickier than this. So, and we're not going to use this. I'm getting ready to show you the new system. This is my standard wedgie sled. I have it set up for 12 segments. Here's one of the templates that's also 12 segments, and I don't know if you can see it, but there is quite a big gap right there. That's how much different it is when you do a compound stave. So that's a good way to point that out. So that's my new sled right here. I'm going to move that turning so we don't whack it. I get in big trouble. So that's the new sled, and I don't have a rail on this side. If I did, I could get it set up and do it like that and then move my work to both the inside and outside. But the fact of it is, this is set up perfectly because there's a little rib in here, and I've got a groove that's cut perfectly 90 degrees from there. I've lined that up, so now I can take that out. I can put my stock over here. I have some clamps that will come around there and clamp it down. So we're going to do that. This takes 10 segments. The blade is tilted at 8.89 and the miter angle is 15 degrees, 15.72. So on 10 segments that would not be that same amount because it would be 360 divided by 10 segments is 36, so it would be 18 degrees on the side where it's not. So that's what we're going to do, and if you're really interested in this, I'll make a special video and go into a lot more detail on it, but I haven't even used it yet, so I guess I want to make sure it works. But I will show you how you put that proper angle on here, and it's just matching what we have right there. That's got to be set up perfect. That's the only thing that I would say there's there's room for error in everything you do, but there's more there. You're going to get it set up, put a flashlight behind it and make sure you don't see any light, and it'll be perfect. Let me get that set up. I've already got some stock out. I'm not going to show you getting that to length or anything. We're just going to start cutting pieces, and then I've got a trickier way to glue it together that I haven't tried. I'm going to crank that blade up so I'm not hitting the teeth, like so. And I got to see if I can crank this. It's really getting hard to do. My hand is in bad shape. Oh boy, that was close. Let's see how we're doing. Alright, I've got the miter gauge here, and I'll put that against it, like so. And we'll run it up against that. I don't see any light there, so I'm going to say we have it. Okay, make sure that's locked down, and we're going to get set up and do some cutting. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and cut these. I need 10 of them. I'm going to point out I have the grain going this way. You'll get a better glue joint and maybe a better looking stave, although it would look okay this way. You'd have an end grain glue joint, which can hold up if you get a good joint. I'm going to start my dust collector up, and I'll see you when these are all cut. I have the 10 pieces that I cut set in position. I'm going to make sure they're lined up. I've cut some of this duct tape. I'm going to tape the joints so that we can fold it down into shape and see if it fits, and if it does, then we'll get the glue on it. Look at that. I'd say that that little wedge did a good job, because it looks like all the joints are going to close up. I like it. Got another thing I want to do. I'm going to get some tape ready and show you what that is. So one more thing that I do to these staves before I even try to glue it together is, in the past I've glued a block close to the bottom and fairly close to the top. That's so the hose clamps will have a place to grab a hold of and not slide up the turning. Don also sent these little 3D printed little gadget. It's set up to hook on the bottom, and then your hose clamp goes in here and on the top. I'm going to try it. I'll hook this here and then push it down. I think it'll hold. I'm going to do the rest of them and I'll come back and then we'll get ready to glue it. So you don't need to watch me do that because it's going to take a while. Alright, let's see if we can get some glue on all these joints and close it back up. Like that. How about that? Not too bad. Okay, that's working pretty good. Okay, I'm going to get a wet paper towel, get that glue off of there. And we'll just let this sit till tomorrow and we'll work on it. See if we can get a base on it. Got a wooden faceplate on here, and I had this cone on my live center, and I centered the piece against the wooden faceplate. Made some tabs, they're hot gluing it in place. I'm just going to clean this up, make it round so I can fit a base into there and get a nice glue joint. .700 RPM. So I end up blocking your view here, but I put a nice taper on there. Now I'm going to make a plug that fits into it that will also be the base. This took a little bit of work. I cut a little taper on there, and I put some black crayon on the inside of the other piece with the taper, and then I kind of glued it in, take the high spots off, and eventually I have it where I think it fits pretty good. So we'll go ahead and get it glued in place. So I'm going to clean this up. It's going to be the little foot that it sits on. I'll do some shaping into here, come up just a little ways. I'll cut a recess into this. We'll get it flipped around and then we'll finish it up. 1/2-inch bowl gouge, 725 RPM. Alright, I have it flipped around. I have the jaws expanded in the recess. I don't plan on cutting any of these flat ends here. I want to keep them. I'm going to use a 1/2-inch bowl gouge, and we're doing about 700 RPM. got a nice joint. I cut this on a taper to match this, and it's just as tight as can be. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to cut some more off of that, just to whatever it ends up looking good there, I'll stop. You really should see what we have here. Yeah, I think we're done. We are done right there. That's 1/4 of an inch. It disappears really fast, so we're going to clean this up. And obviously I can cut some more here, but not there. And that underside is cleaned up in that spot. Good thing I looked. Alright, I'm going to call that good because this stuff is going to really sand easy. Looking at the back side here, this is an area where I'm already 1/4 of an inch, so I need to be very careful blending this into here. I'm going to try starting up here and going down. It's not the direction I like to go, but we're going to try it. I just wiggled you here. I don't know if you can see that shape that I'm liking, but right, it comes up here and it dishes in. That actually doesn't look bad at all. Not too bad. I think we're just going to go sanding from here, and we're going to do that tomorrow. Alright, it is time to do some sanding, and I think I'll start with 80 grit. There's a couple places where this grain is slightly tore out, like right there. We're going across the grain here when you're turning, and this wood is not real strong, but it's pretty interesting looking. I've decided to use the Minwax water-based sanding sealer, and then I'll go over it with the Minwax polyacrylic. When you put the first coat on, it looks very milky, like that. But after you get one coat of this on and maybe lightly sand it, it doesn't do that. It doesn't, or at least the polyacrylic doesn't look as milky. So I'm going to get this on, and I'll let you see it when all the finish is on. It'll be a big surprise compared to what it looks like now. This Cambia this is Cambia oak. It really stains a lot, just because it's called roasted oak as well. So it's basically burnt. I guess we're getting ash out of there. So I'll see you when this has got all the finish on it. Got a couple things I'm going to show you here. This is the turning you saw me cut the wedges for, glue it together, mount it in the lathe, and turn it. This is a piece of Cambia oak. I think people will call it burnt oak, but it's referred to as Cambia oak. It's really I don't like turning it. It's interesting, it's fairly inexpensive, but it's about the only reason I buy it. The thing of it is, I've got the grain running this way for the glue joints, but you're cutting across the grain. It's like it's almost like you're sanding with 10 grit sandpaper. It's just horrible to work with, but it ends up looking pretty cool. This one is 11.5 by 3 inches tall. So that's all I'm going to really talk about here, because I want to go over this system again. But I do have one more thing to show you, and I used 8 staves on this, and it's a 60-degree slope, but it was thick enough I could put a lot of profile into it here. That's a piece of quarter sawed oak, and it's very, very pretty. But that's not really what this is about. But I thought I'd make one of these, and I have something set up to show you what that looks like. I'm going to flip the camera so we can get a better look at what I want to show you. So I've got a couple more things I want to go over, and one of them is I want to show you the staves that I used to make this. I cut some new ones. You notice this has a nice little profile on it. Here's 8 staves, same size as that, and it fits perfect. You're going to have perfect glue joints, so I like that. So what do I think about these? They worked absolutely perfect. If you don't like math and you want to make something like this, these work great. He doesn't sell them. He said someone on Etsy is selling them. I guess he gave him permission to make them and sell them. I don't know much about that. I can find out if you're interested. If you don't have one of these set up, and this has this little rail down here, you can just turn it upside down and use it like that. I didn't put the second rail on here, but I'm going to, so if I make another video on that, I'll have that up there, and I can show you other things that you can use it for besides these wedgies and the other normal wedgies. There's lots of things you could use that for. I will also set it up. I saw a demonstration cutting these little blocks like this. I don't want to get into it right now, but these are being held down there, and I'm just going to say I don't like that at all. I'm going to come up with a different way to do it, and if you want to see that video, you will see that. So let me know in the comments what you think about all that, and let me know if you think this was anything you enjoyed watching. This is certainly an easy way to make a stave turning without using any math. Let me know in the comments if you're really interested in doing stave turning, because I have other ways to do it, and I'm happy to share that. If you did like this video, I'd appreciate it if you'd give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. I sure enjoy reading all of them. So, till the next time, see you later.